How's it going, everybody? This is BeatTheBush. Today I'm going to talk about how you can essentially now get a Tesla Model 3 for essentially free. Now, how did I arrive at this? If you are driving a gasoline car compared to an electric, you essentially save around $2,000 per year. There's a bit of nuance about how much you exactly save, how much you pay for gasoline, how much was your insurance and registration before you had the electric car, how much you could sell your current car for. There's a lot of owner specific numbers here that might change these numbers for you a little bit. And if you compare it to a gasoline car that is costing you a certain amount per month in maintenance costs, if it happens to be somewhat high, then it might actually cost you less over the long run to buy a Model 3 today than keep on paying high maintenance costs every single year. This video is brought to you by Tescamp. They make this memory foam mattress customized for the Model 3. Comes with a set of sheets that perfectly fits this mattress. The memory foam is even a little bit wider over here, so you can take advantage of that extra space. It's sectioned into 3 pieces, and the top third has this board backing material. So when you set it down, it actually makes your sleeping area a little bit longer. Otherwise, there won't be anything supporting your head. How do you fit all this? You got 3 pieces of board backing material. Make sure you got 1 piece on the very bottom and 1 piece on the very top. Just squish it down, tie these buckles together, and it's all packed up. Fits in the sub trunk. Check out my affiliate link down in the video description below. Here is the graph. It makes a lot of assumptions, and I'll go into these in detail. For most electric cars, there's a high upfront cost. So you have to be able to pay this in order to get into the club. Once you own an electric car, your savings adds up year after year until finally it could pay for itself. Assuming you have some kind of gas car, and every single year, let's say it's costing you about $2,000, and you keep on adding it up every single year, it's eventually going to be more costly than actually buying an electric car today and driving it for 10 years. First, let's take a look at the Tesla Model 3. The base model cost is $40,000 or so. Long range is $47,000. Performance is $53,000. This is all without the autopilot, without any kind of upgrades. I want to note that in California, the destination fee is about $1,400 or so. This is significant, and you should add this into the purchase price. Taxes are not shown on the purchase page, and there are a lot of weird taxes that they add on, but essentially you can think of this as a 10% tax, and 10% for a $40,000 car is about $4,000. But as of today, you're going to get about a $7,500 on federal tax credit. If you buy it at the beginning of the year, well, you're going to have to pay upfront the $7,500. It's going to be taken out of your savings account, or you're going to take a loan on it, and you won't actually get paid back for this until you file your taxes for that year. There's also a California incentive of $2,000 depending on your income range. After you get paid back for all the tax incentives, the base Model 3 is going to cost you about $36,000. Now let's go back to a typical car. I'm estimating 24 miles per gallon. You drive about 12,000 miles per year. Gas cost in California is about $4.50. So every year it's going to cost you $2,250 in gas only. This depends on how much you drive. Some people drive a lot more, some people drive a lot less. If you drive like a granny, it's going to cost you 250 watt hours per mile. I drive a little bit more aggressively, so I use about 270 to 290 watt hour per mile. Let's say we drive the same number of miles, 12,000 miles, and then the cost per kilowatt hour in California is about 33 cents. You can get this a little bit lower with a time of use plan with your utility company. And if you're in other states, you can get as low as 10-15 cents per kilowatt hour. So this is going to change depending on where you live. And if these numbers don't satisfy you, I will put a link to this spreadsheet in my Dropbox down in the video description below. If you're going to buy a Tesla, I have a referral link down in the video description below where you can get like 500 supercharger miles, and you can use the points to buy other kind of Tesla swag. If you do the math, the electricity cost to drive the same number of miles is going to cost you about $990. Charge at a supercharger, there could be higher rates such as 48 cents per kilowatt hour. There are places where you can charge for free as well, so you can get this even a little bit lower than that. So what I tell people is driving an electric car is going to cost you about half the cost as driving a gasoline car in terms of fuel or energy usage costs. If you replace your Model 3 from a Corolla or some other car, right? Your insurance might go up a little bit, your registration might go up a little bit. But for this demonstration purpose, let's just call it about even, because I want to highlight the electric blinds. I love that thing. Energy usage on one hand gonna save you about $1,000. The other side of this is maintenance costs. For a gasoline car, maintenance is quite expensive, and if you have an older car, it might cost you on the order of $1,000 per year. If you have a newer car that's within 3 to 5 years old, it probably doesn't need as much maintenance, maybe only like $500 a year instead. So you're not gonna save as much replacing a newish car with a brand new Tesla Model 3. But let me just go over the insane amount of things that's in a gasoline car that you need to do maintenance on, which includes oil change, oil filter, fuel injector cleaner. Your engine has an air filter, fuel filter, spark plugs, lead acid battery. Tesla also has one, but it's a lot smaller, which you have to replace every 3 to 5 years. Just having it for many, many years, you're gonna have many chances of breathing in these gasoline exhaust fumes. If you go to the gas station, breathing in that gasoline smell, which is a benzene in the air that you're smelling, which is a carcinogen. You gotta replace the headlamps, tail lamps. The Tesla uses LED lamps, and personally, I haven't had to replace them since I got the car. The brake fluid needs to be replaced once in a while. Now, why is that different in an EV? Is because it uses regenerative braking and it does not make those disc brakes all that hot. And therefore, the brake fluid does not get as hot as in a gasoline car. Therefore, you don't have to replace it as much. Your engine gets hot and it uses a big system of coolant, and all this coolant flows through into your engine and out, and once in a while you have to flush this coolant in your gasoline car. There's also a coolant system in the EV, however, it's made so that you don't have to replace it. The alternator can break, fuel pump, and I've replaced all these myself in my old car. The thermostat needs to replace, coolant pump, air oxygen sensor, timing belt, air oil separator. Now let's talk about the brake pads, which is kind of costly, a couple $100 each time you replace it, depending on how much you use your brakes. In the Tesla, there's regenerative braking. As you approach a stop, you actually let go of the gas pedal and it actually slows your car down all the way to a stop, never needing brake pads if you do it right. If you consciously drive this way, and I personally try to do that, no matter what you do, you're gonna use a lot less brake pads than if you're in a gasoline car. Lastly, there's the tires. No matter what car you're in, you're gonna have to consume tires. So there are some costs that you can't actually get rid of, but overall, the energy cost to move the car is about half, and the maintenance cost is near zero. For the gasoline car, I've added up this $1,200 for insurance. It might be higher or lower for you personally, but this is just a ballpark number. Registration, let's call it $400. Maintenance, $1,000. The gas cost is about $2,250. If you add all this up, it's costing you significant amount, close to $5,000 just to own and drive a car. So now let's look at the cost of ownership of a Tesla Model 3. The electricity cost is $990. Insurance, let's call it the same. Registration is the same. Maintenance is near zero. So it's still gonna cost you a total of $2,590. But if you pay the upfront cost, assuming you have what, $40,000 laying around, not a lot of people have this, but if you do, well, you're going to save around $2,500 year after year as long as you keep on driving this car. And after 10 years, this is going to add up a lot. Assuming you have a certain car that you can sell for, let's say $15,000. You sell that, and then you put in another $25,000 to buy the new Model 3. That's why I have over here the green. It's around $25,000 because I'm factoring in how much you sell your current car for. And then each additional year is going to cost you some amount of money. And this is the green line. You can see the slope is not as sharp as owning a typical gasoline car. And over the next 9-10 years or so, the cost of ownership of a gasoline car, it's going to exceed the cost of owning the electric vehicle. I'm not saying you can buy a car and get it for free the first year or so. It's going to take constant usage. You just got to own the car and use it every single day. But on top of saving a lot of money, you can feel good about owning a Tesla Model 3. You know this is a really, really advanced car. It feels like a spaceship. If I had, let's say, a $25,000 car and I can sell it for $15,000, it's basically the no-brainer. It's essentially going to pay for itself. As a Tesla owner for the last 3.5 years, let me tell you my honest opinion and some tips and tricks about car ownership of this car. The deal with enhanced autopilot and full self-driving, I feel like it just removes a lot of fatigue. You're not as tired when you arrive at your destination, and just because of that, it's like a game changer. One time I went camping with the car, and this is early on when I owned it. I sort of almost ran out of charge because my friends wanted to go a different route that uses a lot more energy, but then I couldn't make it, so then I missed out on that. I had to go to a charger instead. If it's really hot weather, the car actually turns on its coolant system and it consumes close to maybe a mile per hour. And if you do this over the course of 2 or 3 days, it's a significant number of miles. So just beware that if you have Sentry mode on, or if it's really, really hot weather, it's going to consume about 1 mile per hour for each of those. So if I knew about this, I would have taken that into account and probably stopped somewhere and did a full charge of the car before I went to the campsite and parked my car there for the next 3 days. If I drive to LA, instead of taking about 4.5 hours, now it takes about 5.5 hours. It takes a little bit longer because you gotta stop and charge. In a gasoline car, if I really, really push it, I only have to stop one time for a fill up. That takes maybe 10 minutes or so, and then I can reach my destination in about 4.5 hours. In the Tesla Model 3, you're probably going to have to charge 2 times, 2 25-minute sessions. And because you're stopping one more time, you add another 10 minutes. So that's 1 hour extra right there. Whatever Google Map it says, I just add on another 20%. What about battery degradation? Is the battery going to explode? It's going to not work and it's going to cost a lot to replace the battery. Essentially, in a Tesla, it's going to last the life of your car. After about 150,000 miles, on average, you're going to lose about 8 to 12% of capacity. So if you take this into account, make sure you get a large enough a battery of your car so that after it degrades, you still have as much range that you want the car to have. Comparatively, if you look at solar, it takes 20 years. 10 years is not all that bad. Of course, this depends on how much you can sell your current car for. Thanks for watching this video. If you're going to buy a Tesla, use my referral link. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, kind of give you an understanding on how much it costs to own this thing. Essentially, it pays you back $2,000 to $2,500 per year. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.